Hello everyone. Today we will be looking at my first presentation of 5 on the Twilight Saga. Today we will specifically be breaking down Twilight, the blockbuster film released on November 21st, 2008, aka the best day of my life. Now, let's give just a little bit of background info. That's me. Hello. I'm Jessie, I'm 20 years old, and I am a die-hard Twihard. Therefore, I am a reliable source on all the information presented in this presentation. Also, I have a lot to say about this film franchise. I'm very opinionated, and I love the Twilight Saga. I will explain the best and worst parts throughout each movie. We're going to start off with our table of contents. First, we'll go through a character analysis for every main character introduced in this installment of the franchise. After that, we will go over moments that stand out to me. Next, we will go through my favorite portion of this presentation, something to think about. In this category, we will go over just interesting thoughts that I've had during my many times watching this film. After that, pardon me, we will do an overall movie rating. This will be my opinion for each individual film. So for this specific presentation, I will only be talking about Twilight, released in 2008. In our next presentation, I will be going over New Moon, and so on. Now, for our character analysis, we're going to start with the big three. On our left, we have Edward Cullen. In the middle, we have Miss Bella Swan. And to our right, we have Jacob Black. Let's start off with Bella Swan. I have very strong feelings on Bella. First off, she's so dramatic, and she doesn't appreciate how supportive her father is. All he wants is for her to be safe and happy and feel comfortable after moving to Forks from Phoenix. And she's really just not appreciative of that. And for that reason, I thoroughly disrespect her. Also, almost immediately, she decides she's in love with Edward, even though he was continuously aggressive towards her. For that, I think that she has terrible taste and is kind of really stupid. Also, I don't see how practically the entire town could be in love with her. She kind of sucks, she's emo in a bad way, and she decides to wear this to her first day at a new school. The buffoonery. Anyway, my overall rating for Bella is 3 out of 10. She is so stupid. I hate Bella so much. Next up, we're going to be breaking down Edward Cullen. I like Edward a little bit more than Bella, but he still is definitely not my favorite character. He's really mean to Bella at first, and suddenly switches up and decides that he's in love with her. Like, make up your mind, sir. You've been here for over 100 years. You shouldn't be this emo still. Anyway, he has cool guy syndrome, and not in a good way. He thinks he's too cool for everybody around him, where he must be living such a sad life. To not be nice to anybody? To just keep to his own and never talk to anyone? Depressing. Anyway, he's very dramatic and very confusing. Also, he makes me extremely uncomfortable. For example, look at this GIF taken from a scene when they're at school. I hate it. I hate it so much. Why does he look like that? Anyway, I just hate Edward. It's very difficult to read his emotions, and because of that, I really don't like him. Also, just look at that. Oh my god, I need to take it off the screen. It's bothering me so much. Anyway, my overall ranking for Edward, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. I like him a little bit more than Bella, but he still is not the best character. Now moving on to my boy Jacob Black. Jacob's not really a big part of this movie, and for that reason, I think he's at his prime in this installment of the franchise. He seems to really just want what's best for Bella, and also, he still seems to have a crush on Bella, and we know how I feel about Bella, so for that reason, I think he's kind of an idiot. I really do not understand what anybody sees in Bella. She sucks. I hate her. He's really weird at the end of the film when he tries to convince he tries to convince Bella to leave Edward. But I do have to give him credit for rocking a dress shirt. Like, are you kidding me? Look at him. He looks great. Overall ranking, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I would say that, at least in this movie, Jacob is kind of in the middle ground when it comes to characters. Next up, we'll be going over the rest of the Cullen family, starting off with the parent figures, Esme and Carlisle Cullen. Starting off with Esme. Look at that beautiful face. She's very pretty. I have absolutely no feelings about her. She is completely neutral in my mind because she says like 2 sentences, so I really can't form a solid opinion for her. For that reason, I will be giving her a 5 out of 10, I guess. Now, I'm sure that Esme is very kind, and she seems to really care about those that she surrounds herself with, and she really fills that motherly role within the Cullen family. But we just don't get to see much of her, and we don't really get to see what her personality is like. So for that reason, I'm going to have to give her a 5 out of 10. Now moving on to Dr. Carlisle Cullen. Ugh, look at that face. Excuse me. Honestly, I think Carlisle is one of the best characters. He truly just minds his own business, which is not a very common trend within this film. He truly seems to care for Bella and everyone else in town. I would let him babysit my kids if I had any, I'm gonna be honest. He also really appreciates his own children, even when they're being brats. I'm talking to you, Edward. He also has the best entrance in the entire film. We're just gonna watch this a few times. Oh, sir. You do not have to do me like that. The power that this entrance holds. Carlisle has the entire world in his hand with this entrance. Anyway, Carlisle will be getting an overall 9 out of 10 because he was never really the main character in this film, and we didn't really get to dive into his personality other than that he is extremely caring and smart. But everything we do learn about him is that he's awesome, so I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Now moving on to my darling Alice Cullen. Alice seems to be a fan favorite throughout any kind of Twilight fandom, and I think it's for a good reason. She really is a great character. She is consistently awesome throughout the entire franchise. Spoiler alert, Alice will always be getting a high score. She's just so genuinely kind, which I thoroughly appreciate considering our main characters are Bella and Edward, and I dislike both of them. Alice is a nice little refresher to remind us that not everybody sucks. She also has really great hair. My sister Jill had this haircut for a while, and I was so incredibly jealous. I wanted to look like Alice so bad. Look at her, she's beautiful. My quirky queen. She's just a quirky gal with the coolest vampire ability. She can kind of subjectively see the future, which is very iconic. Like, that just screams, I'm quirky, which I love. Also, look at that pitch. Oh my god. You cannot tell me that this isn't the best thing you've ever seen in your entire life, because you would be lying. It has to be the best thing you've ever seen. Look at her. Oh my goodness. I love her. Anyway, Alice will be getting a 10 out of 10. There's very few characters that I like more than Alice. Oh, there she is again. Next up, we're going to Alice's love interest, Jasper Hale. Jasper is really weird and always looks like he's about to have a raging diarrhea and is desperately trying to hold it in, which is kind of off-putting to me, not gonna lie. This is a very unpopular opinion because I feel like most people I know that also love Twilight really love Jasper. He's also a fan favorite. And I really don't understand this one. He's so scary. And moving on from that, he is so incredibly creepy. He always lurks in the background of every scene he's in. For example, let's look at this scene when all of the students are loading back onto the school buses after their field trip. Just take a look at him. Take a good look at him. He's so creepy. Anyway, I'm going to give him a 0 out of 10 because I truly do not understand the hype that he gets, and he scares me. Now, for a nice little refresh from that terrifying being, we're going to go on to Emmett Cullen. I personally love Emmett. To me, he is one of the best characters because he's very sweet and silly to everyone he interacts with. He just has a very charming personality to me, and I feel like we'd get along in real life. He honestly just vibes all the time. He also looks really cool standing up in his Jeep. We can just take a moment to look at him. Oh yeah, he got diagnosed with cool guy syndrome, and this time in a good way, unlike Edward. He's a certified himbo. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is a himbo? And thankfully, I've created a slide just to explain that to you guys. A himbo is generally a large, attractive man who tends to be not very bright, but usually extremely nice and respectful. Think Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove, or maybe a golden retriever. An example of using it in a sentence is, that guy is totally a himbo. He's super nice, but maybe don't try to have a deep philosophical conversation with him. Now, if you look at the himbo stat chart that you'll see on your left, Emmett fills all of the himbo categories. In order to be a himbo, you have to be stupid, handsome, beefy, tall, and kind, all of which are traits that Emmett has. He also is extremely in love with his love interest, Rosalie, which kind of adds in to the himbo persona. Himbos are always very respectful to any woman that they encounter, which makes the himbo character trope one of the most iconic character tropes, in my opinion. Now, for this reason, Emmett will be getting a 10 out of 10 plus a himbo bonus point. I love Emmett, and I think you should too. Anyway, moving on to Emmett's love interest, Miss Rosalie Hale. Now, this is kind of a controversial statement, but I love Rosalie a lot. I think she's a really great character. She's very sassy and snarky, which I personally enjoy in any kind of fictional character, and I think it kind of makes her stand out. It adds a little flavor on top of her just being a vampire, which is already enough flavor, but she's just extra spicy. Now, Rosalie says the very best line in the entire film. My monkey man. To me, this quote from the movie really explains the movie as a whole. It's very chaotic, kind of a little bit comedic, but is supposed to be dramatic. It has a hint of romance because she's talking about her love interest, and really, the whole thing just screams chaos, which I personally enjoy. I could probably go on about the phrase "my monkey man" for hours, but I'll save you guys the time. I just think it's iconic. Moving on. I can see how someone might not like her just because that she is kind of snarky and standoffish to Bella, but honestly, I would be too. Bella sucks. There's nothing I like about Bella, really. Other than her hair. She has good hair. I'll admit that one to her. But to me, I will always consider Rosalie a queen. No matter how snarky she's being, I just see that as queen energy. I will be giving Rosalie an 8 out of 10 for her part in Twilight. Now moving on to Bella's friend group. Personally, I think they all suck. I do not like any of them. Except for Angela. Angela. Look at that beautiful smile. Ugh, she's just an icon. To sum everything about Angela up, I would just say iconic. She's a queen. She's beautiful. She's the only one that truly seems to care for Bella in not just an on-the-surface kind of way, and I really appreciate that about her. I'm all about good, solid, healthy friendships. The overall rating for the entire group, I'd give them a 2 out of 10 because I really don't like them at all. But Angela's personal rating, 10 out of 10. Of course. I love her. She's a queen. Anyway, we're moving on to the villains of this film. Honestly, I think that James Coven is kind of boring, and not the most interesting villains that we are going to see in the saga. They become the main villains in a very abrupt way. Like, why did they have to go after Bella? It just seemed very forced to me, in that they kind of were just a side story until the baseball scene. And then suddenly James is just on the hunt for Bella, which I also kind of don't understand. What really was the trigger for him to just want to kill Bella in such an aggressive way? Also, why did James have to bring in Bella's mother like that? Not my girl Renee. I will not tolerate any Renee slander. She's a queen. Anyway, I just think that that's shady if you ask me, and the overall rating, I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10. It would be a lower score, however, I do respect that Laurent, who we see on the left, went to the Cullens' house beforehand to warn them about James. So I respect Laurent and Victoria's hair, and other than that, I really don't like them. Anyway, now, I'm just going to take a second to compose myself. We are going to talk about Chief Charlie Swan. Personally, I think that he is the very best character in not only this film, but the entire Twilight franchise. He just wants what's best for his daughter Bella, even though she sucks, which makes him very strong. He loves Bella and cares for Bella, even though she is terrible and I hate her. He's also very caring. He seems to be very caring to everybody that he thinks is going to be a good influence on his daughter. And he also seems to be very in touch with the community of Forks, and for that, I really love him. I just think he's great. Also, just a little added bonus, he is so incredibly handsome. I would like to be Mrs. Charlie Swan. I would love that. I think he's just so incredibly handsome. I'm a sucker for a good mustache. And all he does is just vibe, really. Like, he's an icon. I will be giving Charlie a 20 out of 10. I do not care that this is a 1 to 10 scale. He literally deserves the world. And also, this is my PowerPoint. I can do whatever I want. Anyway, just look at him. Like, are you kidding me? This king. Look at that flannel jacket. That mustache. Ugh. I love him. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk about this specific scene where the vampires play baseball. I thoroughly enjoy the idea of this. Vampires playing baseball? Sign me up. I don't know, it's just something about vampires playing baseball is so iconic to me. Stephenie Meyer really went off when she decided that vampires, what's this thing called? Hit the ball? Yeah, that thing. So hard that they only have to play when there's a thunderstorm. Like, that is iconic. The strength that this family has. Anyway, everything from Alice's pitch Emmett and Edward crashing in the air to Supermassive Black Hole by Muse playing in the background. Oh my god, I almost said bathroom. Supermassive Black Hole by Muse playing in the background. Everything about this scene is iconic. This truly to me might be one of the best scenes in the entire franchise. And I'm not alone in that. This scene is basically loved from anybody that has ever seen this film. I think it's one of the best things that the Twilight franchise has to offer. This scene also leads into the climax of the film, which is also very powerful. This is where the Cullens first kind of interact with the main villains in this movie, and this is also where James decides that he wants to kill Bella. So that's pretty exciting. Also, look at this picture of Rosalie. This is peak comedy to me. Something about this picture just gives me an excessive amount of serotonin. Why does she look so structured? Anyway, I just wanted to point that out to you guys, that this is very funny to me. Alright, now we're moving on to my favorite category, something to think about. Now, once again, these will just be parts of the movie that really stuck out to me and I've noticed throughout my multiple times of watching this film, and I'd like to point out to you guys as well. First off, we're going to start with the police station scene, where we find out that Charlie's good friend was killed by James Coven. As Bella and Edward are pulling up to the station, Bella says that her dad is still working, and Edward says that his dad is there too. They pull up, and both of them seem to be very confused as to what's going on. Now, remember that by this point, Edward had already told Bella that he can read minds. Yet he still seems to be just as confused as Bella as to what's going on. To me, that's just, I guess a little goof. Because Edward should know what's going on by reading really anyone in the building's mind. Yet he still seems to be very confused. And I just thought that that was interesting. And I'd like to point that out to you guys, that not even the masterpiece that is Twilight is fully perfect. So yeah. Next, we're going to talk about the scene when they are actually in the restaurant and Edward confesses to Bella that he can read minds. This just really seems like, okay, if the idea of a storyline revolving around vampires was already not enough fiction, the idea that Edward just tells Bella out of the blue that he can read minds, except for hers, and she just goes with it and believes him, that's comedy to me. I would be like, dude, you're so creepy, get away from me. But she just goes with it. She's like, oh, you can read minds? Nice. Cool. What's that guy thinking of over there? And then we are introduced to this character. The Catman. Oh, how I love the Catman. Honestly, I think this portion of the film where Edward confesses that this man is thinking about cats, I think it's maybe one of the best scenes in the film as well. Also, I really think that this guy probably would have played a better Bella than Kristen Stewart. No tea, no shade to Kristen, but a little bit of tea and a little bit of shade to Kristen. Alrighty, now we will be moving on to Emmett's bag of eggs. To me, this is probably one of the most interesting things in all of Twilight. Now, you might be wondering what I'm talking about. And this is from the scene where we, as the audience, are first introduced to the Cullens during the scene in the cafeteria. All of them bring, sandwiches and, salads and things like that. And Edward just brings a plastic bag full of eggs. Now, this is not just some sort of goof, oh, we don't have anything else for you to bring, just bring these bags of eggs that we have in the props department. No, because that's just a closer look at his eggs. Just wanted to remind you guys that it is, in fact, just a bag of eggs. But also in the promotional photos, he still has his bag of eggs. Is there a deeper meaning behind his bag of eggs? I don't know. This is something that I would really like for you all to think about and get back to me on what you think the hidden meaning behind Emmett Cullen and his plastic bag full of eggs really is. Because I'm sure there's some sort of symbolism behind that, and I'd really like to know what you guys think. All right. Now we're going to go over Twilight's overall ranking. Now, just a reminder that I feel like a lot of the characters in this film are not at their best. I also don't really like the villains in this film as much as villains in later films, and for this reason, I'm going to give Twilight a 6 out of 10. It's not the best movie in the saga, but it's also not the worst. Overall, I do truly find this movie enjoyable, hence why I'm making this PowerPoint, but it's just not the best that Stephenie Meyer has given us. So for that reason, it will be giving a 6 out of 10. Alrighty, so that was my full PowerPoint on Twilight 2008, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah, have a good day. Yeah, okay. Goodbye, everyone. Peace out. Mwah. Goodbye.